Welcome inside the studio, Seminole Sidelines. I'm Ariya Massoudi, that's Pat Burnham, and this is presented by the Osceola, a new dawn, a new age, the outlet you grew up with, taking itself to a new level. Pat, this is going to be exciting times for us.
Yeah, the Osceola is starting a new era, and of course started off in 1982 as a weekly newspaper publication that was mailed to subscribers, and of course now we have all kind of ways to communicate with subscribers, and our publisher Jerry Kutz is going to join us here shortly to give us an update on what's new with the Osceola.
You know him well. He is a Seminole legend, Jerry Kutz, and he's got an announcement. The floor is yours, Jerry.
A Seminole legend, holy moly. Hey, I'm really excited to announce tonight or this morning, I guess, that Osceola will be joining the Rivals Network. We were excited to be invited, and we're honored to be a part of it. And I'd like to let everybody know that we're going to work very, very hard to bring you the most accurate and dependable coverage that's humanly possible. By joining the network, it allowed us to do some really important things, one of which is to hire you, Ariya.
I'm glad to be here. It's a no-brainer.
You get to sit next to a co-host with a guy who was around since pretty much right back 85, I guess it was, Pat, when Wally took the job here at FSU, and you were a college student.
Yeah,
and you put me to work.
Yeah, you put me to work doing the shrubs and doing all kinds of things around the Osceola building before you actually let me inside.
Yep, some guys never learn.
That's right.
But at any rate, this today officially will also be the first day for Kurt Weiler, who is has been the beat writer, the FSU beat writer for the Tallahassee Democrat. We're really pleased that Kurt has joined our staff, and so that we can bring the best coverage that's possible.
Yeah, Jerry, it's going to be really big moments here for us.
Kurt and I went to school together back in the day at Florida State. I say back in the day, not that long ago, quite honestly, and grew up a Seminole diehard myself, and so this is a dream come true for all of us. Bob Ferranti also joining the team, and he's been a big linchpin of the Osceola, so we've got a team built in. When you also think about Charles Fishbein as well with the recruiting that's going to help Pat, we really know that Seminole fans are passionate about this program. They've had great coverage on this beat from numerous outlets, and us included, and now we get to up our image a little bit, so to speak. We raise the level and raise the bar, and so we're going to do what it takes to earn your loyalty and to keep you as a part of our team and our family. So, Jerry, this is big for us. We're really excited, and anything else you want to tell the readers and the subscribers?
Yeah, this is something I'm really passionate about, and that's tonight. We'll have Kez McCorvey on, and we'll have Leroy Smith, and we've created what I call Osceola analysts. And I've got with former players, Charlie Ward, Kirk Carruthers, Mark Salva, as well as the two analysts you'll hear from tonight. And there'll be regulars on our show because their perspective is so important. I think being able to get former players who actually played the game, in this case, the two analysts we'll have on tonight, both have coached the game as well. And so they bring an interesting perspective that a lot of us sports writers, we kind of miss. And so it's been a dream of mine to be able to involve the former players in producing content for Florida State University.
It's going to be big for this website. Yeah. And that's something that we think makes us unique, and why we hope you choose to stay as a part of our family or to join our family is that unique perspective from former players and analysts that have been there, done that, and are agreeing to be a part of the Osceola.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they bring they see things we don't see as people that are in the media but have not played to the level or coached to the level that they have seen and done. And, a guy like Mark Salva, who played at Florida State on some of the early dynasty teams and then was a college coach at South Carolina, is, an outstanding guy for not only the entire 22 people on the field, but in particularly inside work with the offensive and defensive linemen. So I look forward to being able to for those guys to bring our subscribers their insight, their expertise, and I think they will love listening to those guys on a weekly basis.
And you know what, Pat? I was just about to say that, Jerry. We were just about to highlight the guy right next to me. He's been around the college game. He's coached as well, and he comes from lineage that's royalty at Florida
Yeah,
State.
listen, I'm excited to be here. I love football. I love football season. We've been to 4 practices. It's, Florida State football, I've been around it since 1985. I've followed it since the early 80s, even before my father started coaching here and we moved to Tallahassee. But it is an exciting time, and proud to be a part of the Osceola. And, as Jerry mentioned before, in 1985, when my father started coaching at Florida State, I started hanging around the Osceola building. Now, Jerry would not let me inside. He made me do the yard work for several years before he would let me come in and start doing some proofreading. And then when I got through playing college ball, I did come back, and Jerry let me go to practices and observe practice and started writing some reports. So Jerry's the reason I actually got involved in the media side of sports after I was done in football operations. So excited to be here and looking forward to the season.
Pat, one last thing. For those longtime followers of the Osceola, Pat Burnham's mother was our proofreader in those early days, and she had to proofread Steve Ellis, which was tough sledding.
So Steve was known for a miscomma or two back in the day.
I'm busting on Steve, the best reporter that ever lived, in my humble opinion. But so our history with the Burnham family goes way back.
Let's hope it continues to move forward.
All right, the Burnhams know football. The Osceola knows Seminole football, and we're excited to have you. Heard Jerry's phone going off. That's how busy he is, the Schefter of the Florida State beat.
That's right.
Jerry Kutz. Jerry, we'll let you go. We'll bring you back in just a little bit here on this show later on, and we'll get your insights from practice. But we're going to start talking about the offense here in just a moment. Pat, when you look at the Seminole team and Mike Norvell's offense, they make a change at coordinator. Dillingham goes to Oregon.
Yep.
Atkins now in. Not a whole lot is going to change, but a lot of familiarity from guys who have been there, done that. Experience has been the name of the game for FSU early in fall camp.
Well, yeah, listen, just before we get into the specifics of the offense, there's a different energy and feel around this football team than the last 3 or 4 football teams we've covered. It's one of those things you can't put your finger on, but you feel it, you sense it. Other people around the program that have covered the program feel the same way. Just the way this team has carried themselves through practice the first 4 days. They've started to take on the identity of their head coach, who has always been confident and focused preaches working hard, and we've seen that from the team. But yes, and this is, to your point, still in some regards a very young football team, but an experienced football team, deeper than any of the previous 2 football teams Mike Norvell has put on the field, which makes practice more competitive and, which produces better players and ultimately you hope better results. But you can go through most positions and see that Florida State is deeper going into this camp than they have been in quite some time. But to your point, the offense is where we're going to start. And, Florida State's offense the last 2 years has been centered around Jordan Travis, and he will be the signal caller again this year.
Yes, he will. And that was the theme at ACC kickoff and media days up in Charlotte. It was adding depth to all the position groups. Jordan Travis, he was there representing Florida State at Media Day, a completely new body. He's worked really hard this offseason, and more than anything, though, he now knows, Pat, that this is his team.
Well, yes, listen, he is the unquestioned starting quarterback, and now is the unquestioned leader of the football team, and certainly the offensive. But he is the guy. He is one of the guys that all of the underclassmen will look up to, and even some of your leaders on offense and defense will look up to him. He is a kid that plays tremendously hard. You are hoping that the added weight, will help with some of the durability, those kind of help him take more hits. But Jordan Travis is not going to have to worry about a Mackenzie Milton or Alex Hornibrook on the sideline. This is his football team. This is his offense.
More than anything, when you say this is his offense, and you say he doesn't have guys that he's competing with going in, what does that allow him to do in the offseason as he prepares for a new year?
Well, listen, I think it solidifies him as a leader, right? He's gonna, people are gonna listen to what he has to say. Not that they haven't since he's been here, because the way he plays, I think people naturally follow him, and I just think you'll see that his leadership will grow, and his command of this team will grow.
Something his head coach Mike Norvell said at media days and throughout this preseason camp is that Jordan has been intentional about pulling guys to the side and to making himself and his leadership known as a guy that you can come to, because Jordan said it himself. He said, I'm reserved. I'm a quiet guy. I don't really lead with my voice. I lead by example. But it's something that as you get older, you start to lead more with your voice as you grow and you become more comfortable with yourself and within the offense. So we're excited about Jordan and what he's going to do here for Florida State this season. When you've seen him in camp, we've only gotten a little bit of time to see him. I want to make that clear. This is not even a weekend of practice, and so we'll have more of an analysis of him as we go on. But what have you seen from him and his ability to throw the football, to read the game through the first week?
Well, yeah, I mean, as you mentioned it, listen, he's gotten a little bit bigger. He's done so, but he has not lost any of his elusiveness, his quickness, his speed. We've seen him break some plays out of the pocket, as you would expect for Jordan to do. But certainly we were watching him throw some deep balls into this morning's practice. Arm strength seems to be as good as ever. All the quarterbacks have live arms right now. But Mike and the offensive quarterbacks coach, Tony Tokarts, have both been very positive about Jordan through the first 4 practices, and you will think, this being his 3rd year in Mike's system, he's going to have his best year he's had since he's been here.
Some of the observations I had through just they were going through red zone drills, his confidence in sitting in the pocket and throwing the intermediate routes, it feels like there's a level of comfortability that maybe he didn't have early on in his career, but that's something he has to do to take the next step, right? When you're in a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 6, or a 3rd and long in general.
Yeah, well, you want to stay out of those situations as much as you can, but if you're going to be in 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6, you certainly want to have a guy that has the ability to sit back in that pocket and make throws. But hey, listen, when you got Jordan Travis, a quarterback, you got to protect the whole field when he's in the pocket, because he can break loose in a heartbeat. But yeah, certainly, I think he's going to benefit from the other positions being stronger around him, and I think, and that's one of the reasons I think you'll see him take that next step.
All right, so we know he can break away and be able to scramble for some yards. He is excellent at gaining positive yardage on scramble plays and on plays that break down. But that being said, that style of quarterback can get injured, right? He's built his body to try and prevent those injuries from happening. But say Jordan Travis isn't in the game. We've got to talk about guys who will back him up. Who are the top options?
Well, the 2 guys that are fighting for the backup role are Tate Rodemaker and true freshman A.J. Duffy. Now, obviously, we're only 4 practices into preseason camp. They haven't even put on full pads yet. So there will be a tough competition between Tate and A.J. to win that job. You would think that Tate would have the benefit of his experience helping him secure that job, but right now it's certainly too early to tell. But both guys have looked good, very good at times, throwing the ball early in practice.
Yes, they have, and so Florida State fans, that's something to keep an eye on as camp progresses. But a quarterback and an offense is only as good as the pieces around him, right? So let's talk a little bit about running back. I think that's a good place to start here. Trey Benson has been a standout. The transfer from Oregon has come in, and he was injured for much of his career at Oregon. He's a young kid. He comes in, speed, athleticism, the power blend. It's exciting, and he's flashed so far in the first week.
Yeah, certainly. I did not get to see Trey in the spring, but he has certainly impressed in the 4 days that we have watched Florida State in camp. We watched him the other day catch a pass on the sideline at about the 45, and boy, he beat everybody in the end zone. He took off. He's an explosive guy. He has the ability to make people miss, and even though he's kind of smaller in stature, he's thick. He's a thick guy, and he's got some powerful legs and a powerful lower body. But certainly a guy that is a threat, not only running the ball but catching the ball out of the backfield, and will complement. Florida State's got some other good backs besides Trey. Trayshawn Ward, surprised last year and just continued to get better and better. Lawrence Toafili has stood out in practice to this in the first 4 days, made some nice runs on Friday when they were going through an 11-on-11 period. And then, of course, you got true freshman Rodney Hill, who has impressed me from time to time during camp. And, I made a note in one of my practice reports on the Osceola that, he looks faster in person now that I've seen seen him in person than they did off his high school tape. So, but yes, running back seems to be a position where Florida State has gotten better based on what we've seen. But Trey Benson is a guy that can flip the field and find the end zone. And, I'm sure Mike and Tony and Alex Atkins will be trying to scheme up ways to create mismatches.
Without a doubt. And Coach shouted out Rodney Hill earlier this week in practice for his abilities to really break out in space. And I think that's going to be something that Florida State fans love seeing going forward. But Benson right now leading the charge. Trayshawn Ward, one of the best backs in the ACC last year, splitting time with Corbin. He reminds me of Devontae Freeman a little bit, the patience behind the line and maybe not the top-end speed, but he gets through those creases really efficiently.
Yeah, no, listen, he is a tough kid. He can, he finds his way through holes. I think he was, we last 2 springs ago we said he was the surprise of the spring, and you want to see if that continued, and it did last season. But certainly, he's gotten well recognized for it. He is preseason on Doak Walker Award list. So, listen, I think you've got a good running back room right now.
You really do, and you thought, when Corbin left, that the room might take a hit, but credit the staff for going out and getting the pieces that can be very strong here. So the battle for who's RB1 will continue throughout fall as we barrel ahead towards the game against Duquesne in week 0. All right, Pat, let's switch just a little bit. And let's talk about the offensive line, because that's the area maybe on the offense. I know some people will point to receiver,
right,
but the O-line might have taken the biggest step forward in terms of personnel and depth that they added going into the year.
Yeah, well, the first thing you notice when you go out to practice is just the amount of bodies that the offensive line has. They've signed 5 or 6 offensive linemen through this last class. Then they brought in 3 transfers over the offseason, and they got good experienced transfers through the portal. And Jaston Turnatine from South Carolina, Bless Harris from Lamar, and Dimitri Emmanuel from Charlotte. So you add those pieces to the pieces they already had, and it looks like for the first time in several years that Florida State will definitively be too deep on the offensive line. And we feel good about the fact that Alex Atkins has always said he wants to find 8 guys that he can rotate in and out and not lose any continuity or production. And it looks like for the first time in the last 3 years anyway, that Florida State's going to be too deep across the board at offensive line.
Yeah, they might be 9, 10, or 11 deep even. Norvell really excited about what they've added at O-line. When you talk to some of the guys on the team and the guys inside the program, they like to mention that having that many offensive linemen allows for better practice reps. Guys going up against each other, not having to bring in walk-ons to be able to run your drills. What does that competition between the O-line allow them to do as you move into the season?
Well, listen, that competition is just going to make you better, right? I mean, you're fighting for your position every day, and you go back to the old days of Florida State, you would have guys that didn't want to miss practice because they were concerned if they missed practice, they wouldn't be the starter that week. So, not that that's where we are yet here, but certainly, the better people you practice against, the better you're going to be as a player when you go line up on Saturdays. But yeah, certainly the depth on the offensive line is something that sticks out. They've got good experienced players through the portal. All signs seem to be right now. It's early, but seem to be that they did a very good job of the evaluations there. All 3 of those transfers are going to be in the competition to start, if not start. And then of course you brought in some young guys that are standing out already. Now they're freshmen, but you can already see the potential and ability that they have.
All right, so depth has improved. Pat, I'm going to put you on the spot here just a little bit. Going into the 2nd and 3rd weeks of fall camp, what battles on the offensive line intrigue you the most?
Well, listen, I think, we are projecting that Robert Scott and Dylan Gibbons will start at tackle and guard, respectively. On what side, who's to say? But I think where the battles are now are at center and the other 2 guard and tackle spots. It looks like Maurice Smith and Caden Lyles are going to have a tough competition to win that starting center battle. And then, of course, you can't discount Thomas Schrader, who had been very impressive as a true freshman in his spring.
You see Caden Lyles there on your screen, the transfer from Wisconsin, continuing that theme of added depth and guys that have played the game.
Yeah, now, listen, I think it's going to be him and Maurice Smith battle out all camp for that starting center position. Maurice has gotten a little bit bigger. They're 2 different body types, but certainly guys that can benefit this team and give you depth at center that you haven't had in the last 3 or 4 years. And then I think, at the other 2 guard and tackle positions, Dimitri Emmanuel, Bryson Estes, Thomas Schrader, Darius Washington will probably battle it out for one of those guard positions. And then, of course, you've got Bless Harris and Turnentine from South Carolina, along with Darius Washington that can play the other tackle position. So I think you've got 6 guys that are going to have a pretty solid battle for the other guard and tackle position. So you got some guys that are versatile and can go from guard to tackle, and others that can't. But certainly you have an immense amount of competition in this fall camp to make that too deep on the offensive line.
Certainly seems like the floor for the offensive line has been raised just a little bit, and so there's a better baseline there for the Noles. All right, from the big nasties up front in the trenches, why don't we move to some skill players and the wide receivers? Because I know last year Florida State's wide receiving core, it didn't really get the job done in Jordan Travis or Mackenzie Milton, but they went out and they added a whole new roster to guys like Pokey Wilson, to guys like Keyshawn Helton, to guys like Malik McClain, who's been fantastic, by the way, in practice. But some of these transfers have really stood out too.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be interesting to see what happens at receiver. It's another position that what it has not had in years past has been great competition going into camp. To your point, you bring in a Micah Pittman, a Johnny Wilson, a Deuce Spann, a Winston Wright. Winston Wright was one of the best receivers in the Big 12, or at least the most productive receivers in the Big 12. You add him to that offense with Micah Pittman, who's had a good camp. And Johnny Wilson and Deuce Spann have great size and length and can create mismatches, and we've seen Deuce stretch the field vertically and score a touchdown in camp so far. And so you see that. And then to your point, Malik McClain has had a very good camp. Ja'Kai Douglas has added some bulk to his body, and he looks very good. He's broken off a couple of nice catches and runs. And then, of course, Kentron Portier has flashed as well. So you start looking at that, it's not – you're deeper than you have, and you've got some experience. And of course, Johnny Wilson's 6'7", and we've seen him make some plays, already this spring. And then of course, Keyshawn Helton, another slot receiver who's played a lot of football at Florida State. So it looks like it's lining up to be the best year at receiver Florida State has had in the 4 years that we have been covering Florida State for the Osceola since I've been back in Tallahassee. So looking forward to continue to see how these guys progress as the pads come on next week, not only receivers, but the offense as a whole.
Yeah, Johnny Wilson on some of those back shoulder throws has been phenomenal, and that was the key for him, right?
Yep.
Be able to consistently catch the football because he's got a body of an NFL tight end wide receiver hybrid, and so that's exciting. Pittman, Wright, and you talk about some of those guys that have been in the college game and you kind of know what you're getting from those guys.
Yeah,
and then you got the high ceiling guys, right? Like Spann, and I mentioned Wilson, and then McClain, who continues to try his growth.
Well, yeah, you look at the slot position that could have Pittman, Ja'Kai Douglas, Keyshawn Helton, and Winston Wright. Now, some of these guys obviously can play outside. They don't necessarily have to be lined up in the slot, but you start looking at that, and, the competition at receiver is going to be pretty intense throughout the camp, as it will at every position. But certainly, I think people are more excited about the wide receiver position this year than they have in the previous 2 or 3 years.
Sounds like you're in good hands, Seminole fans, with a wide receiver. Obviously, consistency is going to be a key.
Did you mean to use that pun? Good hands?
You never
Receivers,
know.
okay.
All-State, that's are you in good hands type of thing there. But, all right, so offense, we're there. Tight ends, I think that's an area of Norvell's expertise. They used them a lot at Memphis. Who are some names that stood out at tight ends?
Well, what you've got. The known guys are Cam McDonald, Wyatt Rector, and Preston Daniel. They all are different type of players. Neither one of those 3 guys is exactly like the other. Now, what you want to see in camp is who steps up out of Jackson West, Marcuston Douglas, and Jarrell Powers, who's a true freshman. But, you see Jackson's made some really nice catches in camp. And then Marcuston he has kind of reshaped his body. He was a bigger kid when he first got here. He's more solid. He's put on solid weight. And, he's got good hands. He was a basketball player. We've seen him make some nice catches. But, if he can ever block as big as he is, then you've got a guy that can be a end of the line tight end, kind of change that offense. You can also use him as a lead blocker when he's lined up as an H-back, fullback type guy, but a guy that just continues to get better and better. So what you'd like to do is see one between Jackson West, Marcus and Douglas, and Jarrell Powers, bring another skill set to the tight end position, and maybe it's time for West and Douglas both to make that move. So, but yeah, certainly I would like to see one of those young guys at tight end take the next step in their development and help complement what Cam, Wyatt, and Preston can do.
All right, hopefully the offense takes a step forward. It's been 1 week of practice, and we'll keep an eye on that as camp continues. All right, you heard it from us. We promised you analysts. We promised you former Seminole greats, and now's a great time to bring in former Seminole wide receiver Kez McCorvey, who's kind enough to join us via Zoom. Now joining us, former Seminole great wide receiver Kez McCorvey. You know him well. We know him well, and we're excited to have him join the Osceola. Kez, a big season for Florida State and Mike Norvell, a chance to take that next step forward and build real momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a pivotal season. I mean, you can smell it around just Tallahassee. You can smell it around the program too as well. I think the anticipation is high too as well, just from speaking to the guys too as well. Everybody's excited. I mean, and this is probably, in football terms, the money year, the year to deliver. And so that's what it is.
Yeah, Kez, we were talking a little bit earlier in the show about you can't really put your finger on it, but there is a different energy or feel around this football team than I can remember being around the last 2 or 3. Do you sense that as well?
Yeah, I do. I sense a lot of more maturity. When you get on a team, and I think in the past couple of years, what you've had is you've not had a bunch of guys that have dictated. Usually a lot of the dictation comes from, and people don't notice or not, but a lot of dictation comes from the athletes themselves, the leaders of the team, the seniors, your senior groups. A lot of the coaching, a lot of time comes from that senior group. And so a lot of the culture comes from that group too as well. And I can sense it, I can taste it, I can smell it, that a lot of that culture is being pushed through those guys. Those guys are bought into the pudding, and they are eating it, and they are spitting it out too for the young guys to eat as well. That sounds nasty, but it's actually a good thing, that your leaders, your older guys are initiating a lot of the culture and the expectations of your team.
Yeah, something Mike Norvell said was this team was taking more ownership. It was becoming more of a player's program. One of those guys included was Jordan Travis, the quarterback. You had a chance to line up with some great quarterbacks at Florida State yourself. When a quarterback can go into a season, and I presented this question to Pat, and he knows he's the guy. He's the guy from the beginning, in spring, in fall camp, in the locker room. What kind of difference does that make for the offense as a whole?
Well, I think coming in just the expectation, because a receiver, you want to develop a relationship with the quarterback. You got to know his strengths, know his weaknesses, know what he's asking you to do. And so different quarterbacks are different. Some guys have strong arms, some guys have weaker arms, some guys have better touch, and some guys have great anticipation. But if you know what your quarterback can do and what he likes, okay, that dictates to you as a receiver what you're going to do too as well. So, does he like to throw the corner out? Is he a curl guy, flat guy? Is he get the ball in your hands quick guy? Those things matter. And so football is a relationship. It is expectation. It is all those things that you have to spend a lot of time with that guy to get good at. And so I think that's what makes it good to have a person be the guy. I think it made a lot of difference for me when I was here with Charlie, and even with the guys I had before him and after him too as well, to know that they're the guy. You kind of acquiesce to what they're strong at.
Yeah, Kez, obviously they've brought in a lot of transfers on offense, both on the offensive line, at receiver, and at running back. You and I talked a little bit at practice the other day about Micah Pittman, Johnny Wilson. Can you just talk a little bit about what you think these transfer, and we haven't really seen a whole lot of Winston Wright, but what those guys bring to this offense and how they can change the dynamic of Florida State's offense?
Yeah, you know what? Now, like I said before too, football is played in segments, right? You got first down, you got second down, you got third down, you got third and long, you got first and short, play action passes, all the different things are part of the game. And then so each person has unique attributes that help in those aspects of the game. And so when I look at Johnny probably has a lot of upside, most upside, because he's humongous. He's big. And I think he's going to help on a lot of the first down. And so every practice, you always hear about Johnny making a contested catch on the sideline, which is going to be big. And it's going to now dictate to the rest of the defense that we play that they're going to have to guard him, double coverage him, and all the different type of things like that. It's hard for, a 5'8" DB to go out there and guard a big guy that's 6'7", 6'6", on the edge. So I think that's where his strengths are going to, where his attributes are going to help us in first down. I think he's going to be a first down player, a great first down player. I think he's going to be even a great third down player too as well. Number 4, I really like him. I think he is very smart. And sometimes people don't, they don't understand how smart you have to be a football player. Sometimes you think, man, football players, you have to be smart, okay? And so I think he is very smart, very intelligent. He understands the circumstances in the game. He understands the defenses and the holes that you have to find within the context of zone too as well. So I think he's going to be a great zone player. I think he's going to be even better third down player, third and medium to third and long, because he is great at really understanding. He has a family history that he's got the chance to be able to observe and participate in high-level football from his brother and from playing at a college program for a couple of years as well.
Yeah, now, obviously, Florida State has some other returning guys that have tremendous talent and ability. Malik McClain, Kentron Portier. How do you think that bringing the 4 transfers in will elevate the play of the returning receivers?
Yeah, you know what? Nowadays, man, I was talking about it the other day at practice, right? And we had 6 receivers out there. Period. I'm out there tired, sweaty, hot. Because you get all the reps. Now, you get guys switch in and out for so many plays because they go fast. That a lot of guys gonna get plays. A lot of times, a lot of guys gonna get reps. You'll get at least 6 guys that'll play in the game, and so I think that adds depth to the position. All right, and then has a threat in the game at all times. Okay, you just can't have one guy. You got to have multiple guys that can come in the game and produce. And so I think that is the first thing, is having the depth that they add, either on the top or on the bottom. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what position they're going to play. Are they starting or not? Are they not starting? I don't know. That's not my deal. But it'll add it on the top as a starter, or it'll add it at the bottom where the guys are coming in and they're backing up and giving quality reps behind them. But I think it also adds the competition value to the position too. You cannot win unless you have great competition. You got to have it between each other. You got to push each other, but you also got to have it on the defensive side of the ball. I love the guys on the defensive side of the ball that are great, because that makes you great. I love going against Leroy Smith. I love it because he makes me better. That competition. The best game you play can't be on Saturday. The best game you play has to be on Monday through Friday. And so that's where it is. It's defensively, and it's also amongst your peers at the same position too as well. So that's why I think it's a win-win for us.
We're gonna have Leroy be able to answer the question and the challenge from Kez later on in this show. Look at Kez. Kez is ready. He's still got the mentality, just like when he was with the Detroit Lions. Kez, one last question for you before we let you go. Look at him. He's ready to rock. He's ready to run through a wall. One last question for you before we let you go. A guy like Malik McClain, and from your personal experience, going from year 1 to year 2, what kind of growth did you experience and do you expect from McClain here in the second year?
Part of it is just confidence, right, for him. He's got all the pieces, right? He is humongous. He's fast. He has a coachable attitude. He's very coachable. He's humble. He is talented. He's fast. He's big. He's going to make great plays, but can he make great plays all the time? And so I need him I need him. I think everybody needs him. And the whole football staff needs him to do that on a consistent basis. Instead of being 60%, I need to be at 80%. Okay. And as he grows, continues to develop and continue, it needs to be at 90 and then 95, hopefully 100, to where he's beating the guys he's supposed to beat every play. All right.
Well, Kez, we appreciate your time, your expertise. Don't be a stranger here with us as we continue to bring you back here on the Osceola. Go warm up and stretch and get ready for the 1v1 against Leroy Smith. Hope you enjoyed our offensive observations featuring former Seminole great wide receiver Kez McCorvey. Tune back in tomorrow for our observations about the Florida State defense with Leroy Smith.